You got limits, man. Whoa. Okay, calm down.
You write, only an analysis focused on the exploitation, not oppression, of the producing classes by the owning classes explains why there is so much poverty and such colossal accumulations of wealth. So what is the difference between exploitation and oppression?
Exploitation is, I'm using it there in the economic sense, it is the expropriation of money from a worker or money from a renter. It's economic expropriation, economic extraction. So, one could be socially oppressed. If a woman is kept out of a men's private club, right? These are the kinds of things that have been made illegal now. That's a form of oppression. No, you can't come in here, Katie. This is a men's club, right? You're being oppressed socially. Like, what? I don't get access to this place where, important decisions are made. That's a form of oppression, but it's not a form of economic exploitation. But when your landlord says, guess what? I'm tripling your rent. That's economic exploitation, right? It also produces oppression. It's like, you have no power and you're, you suffer psychologically for it. But it's like the material part is the exploitation, where it's like, we're going to need a larger part of your paycheck now. Thank you. That's exploitation. You can't come in. That's oppression, right? And oppression and exploitation are usually bound up together, but they're not the same thing. So, like, you could say that in technical terms, frequently, right, people complain about professional athletes and how overpaid they are. But, some of these players, while they are very well paid, are also some of the most economically exploited. They're not oppressed, this is not like they're not like suffering necessarily, but just in terms of the value that they produce for the owners of these teams is, compared to a fast food worker, enormous, right? Like the ratio of, like, if you work part-time at McDonald's and it's like, how much value do you produce for McDonald's versus how much value do you receive as your wage? That ratio is going to be less out of whack than for some star athletes who, even though they receive $20 million a year, it's like they're real stars. The owners of the teams are frequently making orders of magnitude much more than that, right? So it's not a moral point, it's a technical point, the difference between exploitation and oppression. But I think it's important to get that cleared up because I think part of what diversity ideology and the obsession with it has done to the left is that it elides class and economic interests. And we too often confuse oppression and exploitation. And they're not exactly the same thing. Economic exploitation often produces oppression and is bound up with it, but it's not the same thing. And to deal with economic exploitation, you can't do bank shots and beat around the bush. It's like we have to be very explicit about the class struggle, the nature of, like, what it means to work under capitalism, produce surplus value, have surplus value extracted from you at the point of production, as a renter, as a consumer, and to think explicitly about that and not beat around the bush and think that once enough inclusive moves and gestures, and very often it's not actual moves, it's just sort of gestures and rhetoric. Once enough of that is done, that somehow this is going to add up to a bigger and better class struggle, because I don't see that at all. And it leads to really kind of silly thinking where the left is supposed to, and often does, unfortunately, celebrate the diversification of elites. And it's like, that's certainly better than having, like, it's better that the leaders of Fortune 500 companies are diverse, that there are women and people of color on the boards and not all just like straight white men as it was in the 50s. But it doesn't actually change the economic relations. I mean, we've got like, we've seen so much of that. And the fact of the matter is that, right, we've now got what is it, 3 women on the Supreme Court? 4 women. We have 4 women on the Supreme Court, right? And what has happened? What are the conditions of the average woman like? They're worse than they were in the 70s, economically speaking, because the average woman is working class, and her wages are lower, her rent is higher, healthcare is more expensive. The schools are no better than they were in the 1970s. So the actual conditions of the vast majority of women, regardless of their race or sexual orientation, but the vast majority of women in this country are working class, and their material conditions have declined pretty significantly over the last 40 years. Yet one of the most important, august bodies in the nation now has 4 women on it. And it's like, it's not that that's not important. It's not that that's not good, but it's just like, that doesn't do anything for women working at Walmart in Alabama, And
I guess it's necessary, but insufficient, right? Like with the question of abortion. And there's all these ways that intersects with class.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that to the extent that, I don't know if this is true, but let's say that having a woman on the Supreme Court makes abortion more enshrined, which it clearly doesn't. But let's say it did do that, and it could do that, that's important, but it doesn't deal with the class issue, the class in itself issue. Like, it doesn't deal with poverty, but it deals with something that's exacerbated by poverty.
Yes. And I think the more important point is that it's clearly, it's not sufficient just to get women on the Supreme Court to deal with that.
Right.
Abortion was protected by a court full of men. And as Coney Barrett shows, you can be a woman and extremely right wing.
And you can be Clarence Thomas and be terrible on civil rights issues.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There's an assumption that, and it's tricky, but there's an assumption that one's identity is going to dictate one's ideology. And that's just not true. It's like, there's something to it. It's like, if you're a person of color, you're going to have different insights into American society than a white person is. But there's no guarantee that you won't also just be like, deregulate everything, privatize everything. I love the free market. If you can't make it, then F you, that's your problem. I don't want to pay taxes to, build public housing for you.